The Insane Clown Posse makes me happy. I mean, there's very few other things in life that bring me legitimate joy as much as these two nearly 50-year-old men. Well, one of them's 50, one of them's approaching 50-year-old men wearing grease paint. It's a weird thing to talk about in my life. I don't really have anybody I can talk to about juggalo stuff, about the Insane Clown Posse. So that's why I started doing these little videos. So this is my second one. And I just want to talk a little bit about ICP making me happy. It's a weird thing. I use music as a way to sort of cheer myself up. I've done that pretty much my whole life. It's a sort of a form of therapy, if you will. Uh, Back when I was a teenager, it would be bands like Korn and Limp Bizkit and Marilyn Manson. But when I discovered ICP and really Eminem and shit like that, I gravitated a lot more towards rap music. First of all, let me talk about my history with ICP before we get into how ICP makes me so happy. So I first saw them, I believe it was on MTV News when the Great Malenko controversy was happening. And then very shortly after that, I must have seen them on Howard Stern and WWF. Didn't know what to think of them, didn't really hear their music in these segments on these programs, if you will. I first heard their music at my homegirl's house. I don't know if she wants her name on here. We were smoking weed in her older sister's room, and then the older sister had the Great Malenko on the stereo. I thought it was Cypress Hill playing. I believe we played, I believe it was Boogie Woogie Woo and the Ned and Game and like that, What is a Juggalo, and that like general block of songs was where the album was. So we were just in there enough to like just smoke a bowl or whatever the fuck. And my interest was definitely peaked. Very shortly after that, my friend Scott was into them and made me a tape, and it was over. It was over. I was on the hunt for ICP CDs after that. There's this thing about ICP where whenever I listen to ICP back in the day, and this would happen when I would listen to like Korn and shit too, I wouldn't feel alone. I was a very angry, lonely mess of a teen. Still just now working through some of those issues. So anyway, uh, but ICP, their messages were always very fuck the world. It's not about. It's very angry music, but there's also these messages of like it's okay to be poor. I grew up poor as well, so it's okay to be a scrub. Fuck the richies, all this kind of stuff. And I really gravitated towards that. It's very empowering music in a certain type of way, and I definitely felt that back in the day. Still feel that shit to this day. What happened with ICP was, I'll just have to go ahead and admit it, when the Wraith came out, when Shangri-La came out, I was one of the ones that did not like Thy Unveiling. I felt a type of way, mostly because of my relationship with God. Let's just say I have a complicated relationship with God. We'll just say that. One of the reasons that I fell out with ICP was also like, I wanted, at the time, I was, trying to be a real rapper, if you will. I wanted to be taken more seriously. I was gravitating away from my horrorcore roots as a musician myself. And, I regret the hell out of that now. I just didn't understand the message. I was in such a negative mindset at the time that I was not ready for any sort of spiritual message, especially with the word God attached to it. That was my problem. So I kind of gravitated away from ICP when the Wraith came out. Unfortunately, missed a lot of really cool shit that I could have been, taking part in. I really regret that now, looking back. But there was also this thing that I wanted to say. ICP for some reason wasn't considered real in hip hop. And this was a reason as well that I gravitated away from them. Also, I really regret. Because now I'm so about, being original and storytelling and all this stuff. Because Violent J is just such a great storyteller. Shaggy too. I mean, they're just so great at many things. They're comedy. They're just they're magical. They're just simply magical. So for years I wasn't really into them, unfortunately. And that really sucks. I really, looking back, I wish I could have witnessed this whole magical era after the Wraith, because I only can look at it through YouTube videos now. And yeah, I really regret it. Like there was so much cool shit that happened. Like the family era, man. I missed that whole era, and it's unfortunate. But I'm here now, so hey. And speaking of being here now, how I got back into this Juggalo shit is I was kind of flirting with the idea of going to an ICP show, and so I looked up tickets, and because I was just trying to see a bunch of artists that I was into that are still touring that I never got to see, and ICP was one of those artists that I never saw live. So we went to the Slam Fest tour in Worcester, and I mean everything just clicked again. Pretty much as soon as they took the stage and they got wheeled out in gift wrap presents, the theatrics of it all. They opened with Toy Box, which is literally like maybe like top 5 favorite ICP songs of all time, on one of my favorite ICP records of all time, Riddle Box. I mean that was a magical night, and I realized like that was my first little taste of the magic. Like I never really, I tasted a little bit of the magic, listening to it and all that stuff, but being there and seeing the Fago fly and seeing all these people having fun and having fun myself, like I've kind of never had at a show before. It was awesome. And after that, I started listening to them again pretty heavily. And at that time, I was listening to artists like Peep and Triple X. I was using them more as my therapy. I was in a dark place. I was very heavy into alcohol, drinking very heavily every day. And I was just depressed, man, just in a bad place. And, a lot of these artists were helping me. Little Peep and Triple X, XXX Tentacion, specifically, helped me out quite a bit. But getting into ICP at that time, I got to start listening to albums I had never heard before, or never heard all the way through before. And I heard Hell's Pit for the first time in this time period. And Hell's Pit spoke to me in a different way. I really wish I would have listened to Hell's Pit after Shangri-La, because that probably would have brought me back in. I know I listened to it when it came out, but I think I kind of just like spot listened to the songs. I didn't listen to them all the way through. I regret that. That album, there's so many songs in that album that speak to me on such a level. And helped me. That album helped me so much get through some really dark periods. And I don't know if that was the intention with that album, because he was just trying to, the ICP was just trying to bring it to to hell. They were trying to bring it to a dark place, but I was in hell, so I related to that motherfucking album probably a little too much. So yeah, that kicked off the magic going to the Slamfest tour. I was starting to really feel it, and I was like, man, I want to go to the gathering. I think I want to go to a gathering. I've always wanted to do that ever since the first one back in the day. And like the height of magic for me was that Bizarre era, man. Like that was really the height of my ICP fandom back in the day, and I wanted, the first gathering happened around that time. All this cool stuff was happening at that time. I really wanted to see what it was like. So I went, and that really just kicked open the doors. I was like, I'm a fucking juggalo, fuck it. I'll just say it, I'm a juggalo, blah, 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 because I was kicking and screaming, I was resisting the term. I was like, I'm a fan, I'm not a juggalo. But yeah, I'm a fucking juggalo. It's pretty fucking obvious at this point. But yeah, I was still in a dark place at the gathering. I wasn't mentally stable. I was drinking heavily still, and I didn't enjoy the gathering as much as I could have. I definitely enjoyed it. I definitely got my fair share of I had so many awesome experiences, met so many cool people, but I could have done more. That's why I'm excited about this year. I'm planning on doing so much more. So yeah, ICP makes me happy. I don't know what else to say. They make me happy. I listen to them when I'm down, and they almost immediately pick me up. I almost immediately feel better. And I've never done a drug. Drinking never did this. No music, honestly. Even back in the day, like when I would listen to Korn, listening to Korn back in the day was like almost like you wanted to poke the wound. You're like, you almost you're almost enjoying the pain, like back in the day when I was listening to Korn and stuff like that. Um, ICP is actually healing. ICP actually is healing the wounds. Um, at least in my crazy head, it feels like they're healing the wounds. Yeah, I don't know what to say other than they're just magical. Their creativity, the storytelling, the comedy, the messages, the hidden messages, the meanings, all of this stuff. It's all magic. Violent J talks about the Dark Carnival quite a bit and how he feels it gives him messages and he feels like he doesn't write songs. I feel the same way. Creativity just it doesn't feel like I'm doing it sometimes. Like it feels like I have to do it. I'm being like it's in me and I have to get it out of me so that like it can exist in this world. I don't know. I'm kind of ranting about art. This is something I'm known to do. They're magic. They're wicked clowns. They're jesters that point out the wickedness of the world and make you laugh at them. It's very special what they do. They're really misunderstood. I struggle to defend them to my friends constantly. I don't really have any friends that like ICP in real life. No, no real life friends. You guys on the internet, you're my friends. But I mean, I don't have anyone in my real life to like sit down and talk about ICP with. So that's why I'm doing these videos so I can actually talk about ICP with y'all. And yeah, they make me happy. I think I basically touched on all my notes here that I wanted to hit. I might do another video about this subject because I don't know if I fully hit everything I wanted to say about ICP, and I obviously have so much more I can say about them. Um, but I don't know if I fully articulated how they make me happy. I might talk about certain songs. I might dissect certain projects. I want to do reviews of projects. I'm going to do a movie review for Spookies next, I believe, on this channel. If you've never seen Spookies, Joe Bob on The Last Drive-In just showed it on Shudder. It's really bizarre. It's really awesome. But you'll hear more about that in my next video. I'm going to do some more research on that here in a second. Yeah. So yeah, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, share, tell your friends, tell your juggalo homies, you know, all that good jazz. I'm going to be doing more ICP videos. I'm going to be doing some horror movie review videos. I'm going to be doing some music review videos. Hopefully some collabs with some of y'all. If y'all want me on a podcast, hit me up. I am very happy to talk horror, ICP shit, music shit, a lot of shit, man. I got a lot of shit in this stupid brain of mine. Okay. Well, that's it. Peace out. Whoop whoop. I will see you in a couple of days. Hopefully sooner.